very good morning to all of you. It's 10:15 and I think we have started on time. And as young Indians, I think we'd like to instill that kind of culture into the organization, into the generation that we are in. So good morning to all of you. Thank you very much for coming to this summit here in Delhi. And I must thank each and every one of you for having taken the effort to come to Delhi from different parts of India. I'm not going to get into the list of cities that are represented here. To my last count, I understand there are 30 chapters represented in this room out of the 32 chapters that we have. And when I get the list from the office, I'm going to read it out to you. But my task here is to say good morning, welcome. And the very reason for this summit is known to all. The next 69 days is going to be a phenomenal 69 days. The future is going to happen now. The future of India is happening now. And I think if we as youngsters don't take responsibility now in the next 69 days and express ourselves, I think we cannot blame anybody else but ourselves. I'd like to welcome Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan, Mr. Rajiv Gupta, Chandrajit Banerjee, and of course my colleague Guru on the stage. It's been a phenomenal year for us. It's been a phenomenal journey for YI. It's been a phenomenal journey for me personally, and as a chairman of the organization, it's been a phenomenal journey. This, in effect, is a summation to the whole year's effort that we have taken. And to see 30 out of 32 chapters before me, that shows that we have done something right last year. I hope this something right that we do every year continues and we are able to grow from strength to strength and see that if not 31 out of 32 chapters or 30 out of 32 chapters, 30%, 40%, 50% of our membership come for such events. That's going to be a challenge, but how we do it, I think that's going to be the issue many organizations face in terms of membership engagement. But the fact is we have engaged with chapters this year. That in itself is, the result is very much seen here, that we have about close to 90% of our chapters in this room here. I'm not going to take a very long time. We have a tight schedule for the summit this next 1.5 days starting now. And if we don't keep up the time, if we don't stick to the time, it's going to be one thing leading to the other. We don't want to have that domino effect going into the evening. Thank you very much for coming once again. And I'm going to now request the official lighting of the lamp, and after that, Guru to take over. I now request Guru to do the theme setting for the whole summit.
Thanks, Shrikant. Mr. Gopalakrishnan, Mr. Rajiv Gupta, CB, distinguished guests, delegates, and fellow young Indians. Good morning. And it's such a delight to be here at the 10th National Summit of Young Indians. I'll take a couple of minutes to talk about the thought process behind having this theme and the fact that, you know, when you're looking at what would you want to talk about at the 10th Summit of the Young Indians and the National Summit, you also have to keep in mind the historical sequence of events that's kind of in some sense led to us being here. in Delhi 10 years ago, in 2004, we had the first summit of young Indians. And, if I do recall correctly, and I've noted it down, so that the theme of the session then was unleashing the India opportunity. And do rewind yourselves back 10 years. I think India was on top of everything in terms of opportunities, challenges, potential, and everything. We also incidentally had a new government in place. So there was a lot of promise and potential. Has anything changed since then? I think not much in terms of promise or potential. Have we progressed? Of course, yes. We've all moved as a country. We've all moved as a nation. Definitely, as young Indians, we've all gone ahead and done and achieved things, scaled greater heights. From then onwards, what began as a journey for YI, YI in some sense in its current form actually predates the summit by 2 years. But summits are in some sense, brings us all together. As Srikanth mentioned, we are 30 of the 32 chapters here. So in some sense, is one of those melting points where we all get to meet each other and understand each other better. From then onwards, if I can recall, 2009, we had a summit in Hyderabad, where we spoke of waking up to India at 75. Make your choice now. When you look at that, so there was a decisive call for action. If you look at a summit in 2011, for example, spoke of taking charge. The last year's summit was about youth leading India into the future. And it's not just a mere wishful statement. It's actually a realistic thing, be it in terms of political leadership, be it in terms of social spheres, business, economy, any area that you look around, you see that youth are really leading the change efforts in this country, and rightfully so. But more needs to be done. We are in 2014. We are in that phase of 69 days that Srikanth mentioned, where this country behaves at its best, right? You have the model code of conduct, and you wish for a moment that why can't the model of code of conduct be there for all the time? Because in some sense, that's the way the country really performs to its best. So when you're looking at 2014 and the general elections, that's the environment around us. But internally for the organization, I think we are also in that stage, which is YI 2.0. I think the past year or two, we made some changes organizationally, which in some sense is aligning ourselves to actually get into that nice mixture of, execution and ideation. In an entrepreneurial setup like YI, you need to ideate and you need to think big. But I think we are at that stage, sorry. We're at that stage right now where thinking big is very important, but equally important, so as to not take the luxury of the early years, is also to get into action and execute and demonstrate those sort of results. Given that, the theme for this conference we've chosen as the future is now. Let's not talk of what we want to do tomorrow. It's already here. So what is it that we can do today? What is it that we ought to be doing today? You have a concept note with you, but more importantly, I think what we do at these summits is to get a very diverse set of brilliant speakers. And, you have somebody like, let's say, Rahul Bhatia tomorrow, who has actually, in some sense, changed the, rules of the game 30,000 feet, above the sky. What used to be IST in some sense as the, jokingly we would, or rather mockingly we would refer to as the Indian stretchable time, it seems it's now becoming the Indigo standard time, right? So what makes it work for him and his organization, while there are other players who are making it difficult? What are the lessons for us in it? You have a little while from now, you have Lieutenant Commander Abhilash Tomi of the Indian Navy, who would share his experiences of how he conquered the world single-handedly. The first Indian and the second Asian to circumnavigate the globe on a sailing yacht. And it's not an easy feat. If you're away, and some of you have done, meditation like the Vipassanas and so on, to, remain silent for a day or two is a huge challenge, right? But the man did it solo for 78 or 79 days. I think is an incredible feat. What are some of the lessons for us in that? You have a para athlete who says that she fights every single day, Deepa Malik, to actually lead a normal life. What is normal for her, and what is the lesson in it for us? You have the Central Vigilance Commissioner, Mr. Pradeep Kumar, coming tomorrow, talking of how institutions are helping today in combating corruption. right? I mean, that's a big issue. We've seen a lot of discourse in the public domain of Lokpal, Jan Lokpal, and somebody else's version of Lokpal. But there are already institutions that exist in this country, and and one of those, very high officers is the CVC, and we will have the CVC himself talk to us tomorrow morning in the first session about what does it take to, fight corruption, and more importantly, give us ideas, implementable ideas as to how youngsters can get involved within this institutional framework in actually supporting their efforts to fight corruption. When you're talking of institutional mechanisms, the political leadership can't be too distant, right? So we have managed to get at least representatives two political parties, the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Aam Aadmi Party tomorrow, to talk to us about, when they are facing elections, which is, a few days away, April 7th is the first phase, what is the youth agenda? There is a business agenda, there's a trade agenda, there's a whole bunch of things. But what is it that they're addressing, or what part of their election manifesto actually specifically addresses the youth? It'll be interesting to hear from those speakers. My couple of suggestions or requests or advice, or treat it however you would like to, is use this conference, use this summit to engage with the speakers. We have designed the summit so that each of them speak for 15-20 minutes, but we have an equal amount of time, 15-20 minutes, for us to ask questions. Do ask questions. I think that's very important. That's how you can engage with speakers. They come here with a lot of background, experience, research to share their insights. Let's question them. Let's try and understand. That's one. Second, more importantly, look around you. You've got your counterparts and colleagues from 29 other cities in India at least, given that we have 30 cities represented in this country. Do go back home tomorrow, having made friends with 1-2 other, members from other cities. But more importantly also, since we are a membership-led organization, we know a lot of people, but let's strengthen that partnership. Let's strengthen that relationship. With those words, I want to again welcome all of you and wish you a very fruitful 2-day stay here in Delhi. Thank you so much.
I now request Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee to address us, please.
Mr. Rajiv Gupta, Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan, Srikant Suryanarayan, Kumar Guru, my friends, members of the YI, ladies and gentlemen. I really, first of all, want to make it very clear that I really don't want to take up the time of this very, very important group, as I see it, in making a speech or an address, but would just restrict myself to a few remarks and observations. First of all, I must, from my side, especially welcome Mr. Rajiv Gupta, the Secretary, Youth Affairs and Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, to this very unique event that we have here today. He has been engaging with CII, with YI for the past some time, and it is good to see him to come here and to give some of his valuable time and his thoughts and share them with us. YI events for me is very special because, and today's event is indeed very, very special. It is the 10th annual session that you are having, and therefore it's indeed a milestone. And years back, during the formation of YI, when I was more eligible to be in YI, I was a part of the one who was also somewhere involved in the formation of YI. And even before YI was formed, we from CII was looking into how we could create an institution of this kind. And therefore, we were very happy when at that point in time, we could get this conceptualized and put into action and bring YI into formation. And I think I must admit that we never visualized at that point in time, that YI would really shape up into what it is today. And it's thanks really to the phenomenal leadership over the last bit we have seen in YI, collective leadership, distributed leadership. I think the hallmarks of YI has been that it remained very structurally very independent, but at the same time, it was so collaborative and it really involved so many people. So I'd really like to salute and congratulate the leadership of YI in really taking YI to where it is today. From CII, we have a very, very special type of an engagement with YI, which we would like to continue over the years to come. And this special relationship is like somewhere we treat YI as a very independent organization, independent from its thinking of CII, but at the same time connected to CII with an umbilical cord, and also from where we get phenomenal types of ideas. CII always has been, it's a 120-year-old organization. We are celebrating 119 years this year. But we have remained young in various aspects, and that is where I think the connect with YI has been very important. A lot of the office bearers of YI, leaders of YI, have been involved in different activities of CII after, like me, they were no more eligible to be in YI. And I think when they crossed that, we have found them in various important leadership positions within CII, and we are very happy to really have that type of talent coming in from YI into CII, which I think together we have been involved in nation building activity for quite a while. And this objective of CII, of nation building, which is the primary objective of CII, was always very well strengthened by YIs coming into existence and then joining hands with CII whenever required. So that has been a very, very good relationship. I must say that there has been many areas where inputs have come from the young Indians into the thinking in the industry, into the thinking in India, which were when we started talking about issues like governance, when we started talking on issues like transparency. A lot of inputs and thought leadership came from YI and young Indians who actually took this up as a cause and fed into the CII agenda very, very effectively. Few years back, 2006, 2007, we started talking, when we were actually celebrating India at 60, when India completed its 60 years of independence. We were told by Mr. C.K. Prahalad, and many of you are aware of that probably, that Professor Prahalad told us that it's good to celebrate 60 years of India's independence, but it's important to think about what India would be when India would be 75, and really look at, as an organization, CII, he appealed to CII saying that you should be able to look at what India would be when India will be 75 years of age in 2022, and start working from it right away. And when we took that up as a mission, we created India at 75 as an organization. And India at 75, the organization has been since then well populated, well led, phenomenal inputs again from YI. I think we turned to YI for making this dream fulfilled by the senior leadership. Senior office bearers of CII were well involved and are still involved in India at 75 very, very committedly. But at the same time, it was the youth, the young Indians who really came in and are still very strongly involved in seeing how we can make India at 75 a reality. And that institution today has gone way ahead. Again, I must say that it is because of this phenomenal leadership that we had from YI. The reason why I'm saying all this is because we would like really to appeal to this group present here and to the leadership of YI that CII is and will be committed to this institution which has been so well created. And we will continue to look at how we can work together. Wherever necessary, we will play a role of a support, not a big brother at all, but a supporting role wherever necessary, and really keep learning from YI, because we see the future of India, and which you say the future is now, is quite well linked with the affairs of the YI. I met Srikant and Guru in this very venue a year back when both of them took over as the present office bearers, and they said that we had a chat as to what the year could be like, and they were sharing with me what their thoughts are, and we were chatting. And they said that they would make strong changes in the organization. And within a couple of months, I did get from Shrikant a note saying that he has been able to restructure greatly, bring in focus into 7 areas. I think that was very important to create those verticals and to link it up with his thoughts and his in his ideas from a large number of focus areas, as you were calling it, 21 or so verticals into 7. I think that itself showed his leadership and his will to make a change, and that really not only strengthened YI internally but also sharpened its focus externally, which is so very important. And I think I must congratulate Shrikant and the team for that great leadership and bringing in such a robust structure within YI. And I must also congratulate Shrikant once again because of the phenomenal leadership which has seen YI grow so very strongly in the last 1 year. Chapters getting opened, international connections being well nurtured. I think these are extremely important steps, and one saw the type of speakers that you got even from overseas and interacted with them were all very, very important, which really added to the glamour of YI, if I can say so. And today, what is different between YI 10 years back and 11 years from for what YI was 10, 11 years back and what it is to what it is now? I find that more and more people outside of YI turn to YI to understand what YI's opinion is as an organization on things which are evolving. So many of the topics actually that you are discussing today, which Guru was talking about, many of the issues that are there in front of the nation today, like CII has got used to of CII's opinion being sought for, being asked for. Today I find YI's opinion being asked for, YI's thoughts are being really asked for, and I think that is very, very important to see that happen, and one would expect that to happen more and more over a period of time. I mentioned about the opening of chapters of YI throughout the country. I think, as I understand from my notes, 32 chapters in 23 cities. This is quite an achievement. You know, one factor which differentiates CII from all other organizations is our unique structure in various ways. And one of those structures is that we enjoy having 64 offices in India. And these 64 offices are connected to the very grassroots, to the local government, to the local industry, to the local civil society. So there is a huge connect that we enjoy through these 64 offices that we have. And we have been able to build that over a period of time. And YI is doing that is very encouraging, because that is a connect which will make YI a differentiator. And that is the connect which is important for YI to develop. And we, again, I would think from CII, would like to pledge our support, pledge our, if there is anything to be done in the places where you're opening chapters, I would like to see the CII offices be more and more playing a facilitative role in seeing to it that things go well. One of the things that we have also done from CII is to see to it that in all our important international engagements, we have a good YI component in it. And we have gained very much from it. So we have, I'll take an example. When we go to the United States, we take a CEO's delegation every year. We go to Singapore, we go we call it the core group, which visits Singapore once a year, meets from the Prime Minister downwards everybody. In US, we meet everybody. In UK, we meet everybody in the government, in the industry. And we don't go to sell companies. We go to sell India. We talk about India, the India brand, how India can collaborate with the world, how India can collaborate with that particular country. And over the last few years, including the YI leadership, in this very small delegation, these are 7, 8, 9 very senior CEOs going and including the YI leadership in this delegations, in this core group, in these CEOs' missions visits to these countries, have added a phenomenal dimension into our work that we do with these select economies, with these select countries in branding India. And when they talk about the youth of India, to see YI so well represented and talk so very well with ideas, or different new ideas actually, be it in the area, not necessarily in the areas of daily business and day-to-day business, but in areas of education, in areas of even agriculture, in areas of healthcare. I think we have phenomenal contribution that we have received from YI. And then we have other structures which involves things like Commonwealth, the G20, and other forums which has been created around the world, like the BAO Forum in China. YI has done great work, sometimes with and sometimes without, most of the times without CII, in trying to take our agendas forward. So it's been a great experience from CII, working with YI, and I do look forward to working even more closely in future, and seeing to it that we are able to grow this outstanding organization into which it's already into such an important factor today of nation building. I really want to salute the YI leadership and all the members of YI and all of you who have gathered here to deliberate on some of the very important subjects for tomorrow, which are imperatives really for the country. And wish all of you very, very well in the future. So thank you very much and stay connected.
Thank you very much, CB. On that note, I'd just like to, before I ask Chris to go, talking about leadership in YI, this year we have had 3 YI members who have moved on in life. Nawaz Miran, who is a founding member of Cochin chapter, is now the Southern Region Chairman for CII. Arjun Walia, who was also from the Delhi chapter, is now the Delhi Zonal Chairman. And then we also have Jay Galla, who's a past chair, who's contesting for elections from Guntur for this coming election. So, Chris, please.
Mr. Rajiv Gupta, Mr. Srikanth Suryanarayanan, Mr. Kumar Guru, Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, my friends from Young Indians across the country, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor and a privilege for me to join you in celebrating the 10th Young Indians National Summit. This is particularly welcome as a milestone, as it reflects the felt need for such an organization, and also its success in meeting expectations. I felicitate all of you on this occasion and wish you many more milestones ahead. I'm truly impressed by the wide-ranging initiatives and activities undertaken by YI over the years. The platform has emerged as a valuable springboard for new ideas and new leadership, new thoughts, new strategies for engaging the youth in India. Your interface with different sections of society, the focus on innovation, learning and leadership, and your international networking all converge to impart a renewed direction and participation of youth in nation building. I'm delighted to note your outreach has expanded through the formation of several new chapters of YI. So let me take this opportunity to commend you on all your activities and reiterate, as Chandrajit already did, CI's support in your every endeavor. Now, having said that, the theme is Future is Now. So Srikanth, Guru, when you look to the future, I want you to become even more aggressive, even more ambitious, and in every aspect, actually, number of participants, number of YI chapters, number of projects, the impact that you create, the brand that YI has. In everything, I want you to become even more aggressive, even more ambitious. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Because individually, youth is achieving much more today than ever before, and clearly, individually, you are leaving a significant impact. So when you come together, 1 plus 1 at least must be 3, but hopefully some of you will say 1 plus 1 is equal to 11. I think that's what you need to do. So let me say why I'm saying this. When I look back into 1981 when Infosys was founded, we started with about 10,000 rupees, about $250. 7 of us started. And it took us about 18 years to reach $100 million in revenue. In 2009, we hit $120 million, 3,000 people. Different time, different country, different world. And the confidence that youth in India at that point had was probably much lower. Maybe the confidence was there, but the environment and the circumstances were very different. But then you look at today, and we have examples in India. You talked about Indigo being represented here. Flipkart, I think day before yesterday or something like Quikr, got a valuation, funding of $250 million actually. It's actually happening much, much faster. And of course, I don't need to talk about WhatsApp. I think all of you know that, right? Probably, people are still trying to figure out how somebody valued WhatsApp at $19 billion. But that's the possible. I think somebody in WhatsApp said, I'm going to ask for 19 billion. And that's why they got it. The audacity of that. And it's possible today. And that's what I want you to go out from these 2 days. Individually, you're doing it. And I can see many, many examples of these individually. Many people, very young, today are standing for elections. You're seeing that this is a season for elections. You're seeing that actually. Age today is absolutely no barrier for anything. Probably a negative actually. And once in a while you hear about a young CEO, 12 years old, running his or her own company. Somebody who's 17 years old sold the company to Yahoo for $20 million. $20 million at the age of 17. We hear this every time now. And so we have to raise our aspirations. We have to change the yardstick that we use to measure ourselves. And it can be done. All these examples are proving that it can indeed be done. And that's extremely important. 2 other points I would make. One is because of information technology, access to information technology, access to social media, several things have changed. The notions that we had, the models that we had for business and for access and everything has changed. Today, when you look at access, you can access the entire world's information sitting at your desk on your mobile phone. And the cost is extremely low, almost zero. Today, sitting in the remotest corner of India, you can sell your product or service to anybody else anywhere in the world through the internet. Probably you'll break a lot of laws trying to ship the product. So that's the physical world. But theoretically, you can actually sell your product to anybody else in the world. And if you have a creative, innovative product, innovative way of reaching out to people, 100% sure that you can reach out to anybody, anywhere in the world. You can collect together people with similar interests and things like that in unprecedented ways because of social media and social network. And every day we are seeing examples of this actually. So, the Malaysian airline disaster is playing out in front of our eyes. One of the ways in which they're trying to figure out where could the crash have been is by crowdsourcing. They have put out satellite images on the internet and asking people like you and me to go and look at them and say whether something looks like a plane or a crash site. Now, you may think that this is one-off, but it is not. I came across Mr. Srinivas, Dr. Srinivas Kulkarni is an astrophysicist doing research in the area of supernova. 5 years back, he used to identify a supernova. His research group used to identify a supernova, one in about 5 years. Because that's the time it takes to, you point the telescope and take numerous pictures, it gets processed, and then you analyze, etc., etc. You study it, it takes about 5 years. Today, he is identifying a supernova one every 10 hours. And again, they are using crowdsourcing. So, as they get the images, and what they do is they have a small telescope, a medium-sized telescope, and a large telescope. The small telescope takes the pictures, and as and when it identifies something that looks like a supernova, it passes on to the medium power and then to the large telescope. And the images that come from the large telescope are put on the internet for crowdsourcing. And people can sign up and say they want to actually identify supernova, and they will be trained. They'll be given instructions. Now, you don't need to be perfect. All you need to say is this looks like. Then the researchers can actually spend the time necessary to study it in detail further. Their now goal is to actually reduce it to 5 hours, 1 in 5 hours, and it's amazing. And many examples like this are there actually today. And that's the power of collaboration, power of leveraging technology, power of new models. It's very, very important to think about new models when you use new technology. Without outside the box thinking, without looking at new models, it is not possible to fully take advantage of technology. And we will see this actually in every aspect of our life, and it will impact every industry. Every industry will be impacted because of this. And that's what is available to you today. Second, when we started in 1981, we started by selling to outside India. Our first client, and for many years actually we had only overseas clients. And we had to first create that brand, sell India, sell Infosys, etc. Today the domestic market is huge. The domestic industry is more and more becoming world class, and from a market cap perspective, size perspective, scale perspective, number of customer perspective, becoming a very important market for your products and services. And that's again a great opportunity. 2 reasons. 1, the size and scale of the market. Second, it forces you to innovate in unprecedented ways. Because to serve a market like India, where the cost is significantly lower, forces you to innovate in unprecedented ways, forces you to push technology in unprecedented ways, and forces you to think about new ways of doing things, new models of doing things, etc. It becomes natural. We say jugaad and things like that, but that's what is needed in India. It's not necessary in other parts of the world, but it's necessary in India. And that's how we have been brought up. That's what we are used to. And again, I strongly feel that that is an advantage from 30 years back. One other point, when you do this, when you create impact in your personal lives, in your business lives as YI, you're also helping 1.2 billion people. We have changed significantly in the last 20 years. In the last 20 years, we have added 250 million people to middle class. It's a significant achievement, and we should not hesitate to be proud of what we have done. But unfortunately, there are more than 700 million people still considered poor, and so our job is still not done. In the area of sustainable growth and sustainable development, still there's a lot to be achieved and a lot to be done. As people become more and more middle class, they are all going to buy cars. We can't say that you came much later and already the cities are polluted, so I'm not going to allow you to buy a car. You can't say that actually. So you have to figure out how to produce a car that is environment friendly, maybe uses alternate fuel, and safe and affordable, etc. That's what I mean when I say you're forced to think outside the box, you're forced to innovate. You have to think about new materials, new models, new technology, etc. And that will also benefit India, because we will develop using different models, more sustainable growth, more equitable growth. I think that is also extremely important. And that's what India provides as an opportunity. And that's why there's a lot of interest in what is happening here in India for multinational corporations. So I want to leave you with the thought that in your individual lives, in your businesses, and as YI, please set the bar very high. Set your goals to be aggressive, and have the confidence that you can indeed achieve these. Thank you very much.
Friends, before we go on to Mr. Gupta's session, as national, we would like to recognize some of the efforts many chapters have taken in the course of the year when we as national stood up and said, would you like to do an event or would you like to undertake an event? When a chapter stands up and says, yes, I'm interested in doing it, I'm ready to do it, it actually transforms leadership at chapter level. It transforms engagement at chapter level. It's also an opportunity for the chapters to showcase leadership within their team, engage with members, and bring together a larger concerted effort, not only at the chapter level, at the region level also. What started a couple of years back and what was put into force last year as a regional summits, we did 3 regional summits last year, or in this year. The first one we started in Kochi, and let me just give a background. We also decided we'll move away from tier 1 cities into tier 2 cities. And we thought we'll also move region. So when we say regional summits, regional summit for the region and not for a chapter. So that gives a chapter a larger responsibility, saying that, okay, although I'm in Cochin, I would like to make sure that all the chapters in that region are represented here. So we had 3 regional summits, the first one in Kochi, the second one in Vadodara, and the third one in Guwahati in the month of August, October, and December. And we have had great speakers addressing these summits consisting of senior government officials, educationists, CEOs, filmmakers, journalists, and many more. And you will be seeing them in the annual report that we will be releasing. We also had the participation of past national chairmen in these summits, apart from an opportunity for members to engage, media to notice us, and for us to make large-scale impact. I would like to have a noisy round of applause for the recipients of this recognition because they all deserve it 100%. Kochi, Vadodara, and Guwahati. The first recognition is for the Kochi chapter, not because I come from Kochi. It's in the order of how it happened. Their summit theme was We Build India on Good Governance on 23rd, 24th August 2013. To receive the award, I would like to call the names of Prasanna, head of the Southern Region, and Namrata Konasamra, the chair of Kochi chapter, to come up and get the certificate from Mr. Gupta, please. The Vadodara chapter for hosting the Western Regional Summit on the theme Igniting India's Next Gen Next, Dream, Aspire, Achieve on 5th October 2013. To receive the award, I would like to call upon Aditi Tiwari, the chair of VIA Vadodara chapter for 2013-14 to come up, please, and receive it from Mr. Gupta. Mr. Gupta, please. We then went to the East. The Guwahati chapter did a fantastic job by hosting the Eastern Region Summit on the theme India, the Way Forward on 13-14 December 2013. To receive the recognition, I would like to request for Atrey, head of the Eastern Region, Regional Management Team, Samrat Dekha, Sunit Jain, the chapter and co-chair of the chapter 2013-14 to walk up to the stage, please, and receive it from Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee. There's a famous tagline in Tata called "We also make steel." In VIA, we also have a tagline called "We also have fun." This year, apart from the serious work that we had done, we did a great retreat in Goa, which, as one would imagine, it was a lot of fun. I need not mention, once you mention the word Goa, we know what it's associated with. But the point is, I've attended many retreats in the past 10 years I've been in VIA. It's always the same bunch of people who come for one retreat who goes to the next retreat. But this year, I was pleasantly surprised that I had to ask the names of at least 50 of them and ask, who are you? I don't know you. So that means we were able to engage with completely new set of people, new set of members, new set of friends. I've made a lot of friends in that retreat, and it was an amazing retreat that we had in Goa. Though it was called a retreat, we got one of the best opportunities to interact with the Chief Minister of that state, who spent close to 2 hours with each one of us individually. And those of you who know the Goa Chief Minister, he's the most simple, unassuming man that you can find holding an office of power. We also had a great session with a fashion photographer, session with a wildlife expert. We had Jay Gala, who flew into Goa and spent time with us. We also had a surprise visiting the oldest printing press in Goa, who actually made a masthead that day with the VIA members and circulated it. So it was a great opportunity. So Goa is just not about fun and frolic. There was also a lot of learning. May I call upon the chair and co-chair of YI Goa chapter for 13-14, Earl and Rajesh, respectively, to come up and collect your recognition for the effort you guys have put in from CB. Looks like Earl is still in the retreat mode. Friends, this year, one of the out-of-the-box thinking that Chris was talking about, we did the same thing here with an out-of-the-box concept called the Leadership Academy, which, in my opinion, and I think Guru and I spent lots of time on conceiving this concept called Leadership Academy, where we were very clear, if we have 32 chapters or 50 chapters or 100 chapters, you put 100 people in a room and ask them one question, what is YI? We must get 100, one single answer, not 100 into 100 different answers. So the process of educating, learning, putting the legacy of the organization, understanding what YI is, what is the passion, and how do you work inclusively with members. I think we put it into a classroom model and we said, let's do it as a leadership academy. It was not easy. It was not easy to do it because, as usual, we had zero funds. So we had to come up with out-of-the-box thinking, and Guru really helped us with that. Navita, she's not here, but I would have loved for her to be here and actually talk about it for a couple of minutes, but paucity of time and her absence, I don't think that's going to happen. She's coming in tomorrow, though. Navita did the entire program along with Mala and her team, and they came up with 2 cohorts, and we said any co-chair of the chapter must go through this Leadership Academy compulsory from this year onwards. Last year, we just sort of made it, you must attend. We broke it into 4 days, 2 sessions each, one in Chandigarh and one in Hyderabad. The fact of the matter is, although we did it in these 2 cities, these two chapters played a fantastic host to all the leadership from across India. It also gave them an opportunity to mingle, interact, and understand what happens in different parts of India. For this, I'd like to call upon Robin and Jay Prakash, the leadership of Chandigarh chapter for 2014, to come up and take the honors. For Hyderabad, may I call upon Praveen Agarwal on behalf of chapter leadership to receive the honors from Chris. Thank you very much, everyone. Now we'll come to the penultimate session, which is the keynote address by Mr. Rajiv Gupta. Mr. Rajiv Gupta, Secretary, Youth Affairs, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India. He was the first official that Guru and I went and met earlier this year when we commenced our office, and it was more than relationship building. It was also an opportunity to get to see what Mr. Gupta had in his mind as far as youth agenda was concerned, youth affairs was concerned. It was an ice-breaking session for us to understand more what YI can do with Ministry of Youth and Sports. We have been trying to work with your department for the MOUs and trying to see how we can build out on the NYKS, the RGNIYD. We will continue to work with your department and with your officer. Rajiv Gupta, IAS, is a topper from Delhi University who has completed MSc Physics. He joined the IAS in the year 79 and subsequently got posted as Secretary, Department of Youth Affairs, Government of India, with effect July 2013. Mr. Rajiv has assumed multiple roles and served in various reputed organizations in the recent past, including National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation of India and Ayush, to name a few. Also, he has immense experience by assuming various roles in the government of Uttarakhand. He has also been a member of the Animal Welfare Board of India, Ministry of Environment and Forests from 2004 onwards. Friends, my pleasure to request Mr. Gupta to talk to all of you.
Mr. S. Gopalakrishnan, Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Mr. Shri Kansuri Narayan, Shri DNV Kumaraguru, all the distinguished members of the Young Indians. It's a privilege for me to be on this platform. I congratulate you on the 10th year of your formation and this 1.5 days summit. The new leadership, I'm told, will be taking on from tomorrow onwards, and this is an annual feature for you, but as you say, the future is now. When you say future is now, that means that the time to act is not to be postponed for future. The time to act is now. I mean, that is a very simple interpretation, but of course, the vigor, the enthusiasm that you have to start this moment itself, to take off from this moment itself, is really impressing and very encouraging, not only to you, but to us also in the government. The youth of India today are our biggest resource. Our 34% of the gross national income comes from youth in the age of 15 to 29 years, and a very big segment of the government spending is for youth. The Government of India directly spends more than 90,000 crores of rupees on youth, be it on education, sports, labor, training and employment, and much more is spent by the state governments. We, as a new initiative, has come out with the National Youth Policy 2014. The earlier policy was there in 88, which was revised in 2003. And now lastly, you must have seen its glorious launch all over the country last month on 21st of February. And we also launched the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Abhiyan as an offshoot of the National Youth Policy 2014. I'll give you briefly some features about the National Youth Policy. It has, first of all, the vision of the National Youth Policy is to empower the youth of the country to achieve their full potential and through them enable India to find its rightful place in the community of nations. It has 5 objectives, that is creation of a productive workforce, development of a strong and healthy generation, then to instill social values and promote community service, facilitate participation in civic engagement, and support youth at risk and create equitable opportunities for all. Under these 5 objectives, there are 11 priority areas. That is education, entrepreneurship, employment and skill development, health and healthy lifestyle, sports, promotion of social values, community engagement, participation in politics and governance, youth engagement, inclusion and social justice. The policy, after analyzing the current schemes of the Government of India and the state governments, prescribes many future imperatives and also calls upon all the states to make their state youth policy and all the ministries of Government of India to formulate an integrated plan of action in the next 6 months so that it can be effectively implemented across all the departments. We have also taken another important step. On 20th of February, we have created a youth council which consists of youth in general and eminent youth of the country to oversee the implementation of the youth policy and also to suggest innovations in all the activities concerning youth of our ministry. Now, with this background, you can see our youth policy on the website, and as you see, a very important sector of that is sports, and simultaneously with the youth policy, a very big scheme, that is Rajiv Gandhi Khel Abhiyan, has been launched, which envisages creation of a stadium in every block of the country. It also envisages of coaches at the block level stadia, and then competitions at various levels from block to district to state to national level, provision of funds for that, and also a youth resource center in the stadium in every block. And Government of India is going to spend heavily on these, the total expenditure, the nation, and also I believe that they have also been, they have contributed their lot in the formulation of this youth policy. When we made the youth policy, it is a exercise which has been drawn over for the past 4-5 years. And we put it, first of all, we consulted all the political parties, we consulted all the youth bodies, all the industry federations, and we placed it on the website also. A lot of suggestions came, and then we analyzed all of them. Our Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development then prepared a draft. Ultimately, our Boston Consultancy Group also prepared a draft. The ministry finally came up with a cabinet note, and the Union Cabinet, after due deliberations, approved this policy. Now, that was about the policy. Now, what the industry can do, what the young Indians can do for the youth of the country, I'd like to say. The first thing that I have told to our friends, Mr. Guru and Mr. Shrikant, that your chapters in the states, you have 32 chapters in the field. So those chapters should identify what are the local skill development requirements of the youth of the area. And then you should get, we'll provide you the youth for training. Say, I'll come to that. You must be knowing our Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan. We have about 2.8 lakh clubs, rural youth clubs all over the country, which have membership of about 80 lakh youth, 8 million youth. Now, these youth are already mobilized in the sense that they have been given some sort of, promotional inputs by way of leadership development programs, by way of theme-based awareness programs, most of them. But what they need is skill development. Now, skill development local to the specific needs of the local industry. That is most important, because our youth in the smaller income bracket cannot migrate to another place. He has to stay close to his house so that his other overheads are not very high. And definitely the industry requires labor. So if we can have a good sort of identification of the job requirements, and then I told the young Indian leadership that you don't have to spend on the training. The Ministry of Labour itself has a very ambitious scheme of skilling youth all over the country through vocational training providers. And the courses also they have identified a few hundred courses and a few thousand vocational training providers already. Even you can help me identification of better vocational training providers, which can be registered with the state level skill development societies, which are formed under the Ministry of Labour guidelines, and they can be funded for the training directly by the Government of India through the state level societies. So this can go a big way in providing employment and skill training to a youth, and also fulfilling the requirement of industry for suitably trained labor, reasonably customized to their local requirements. Now, that was one initiative. Now, the other thing is through the CSR funds. The industries, they mandatorily have to spend a part of their profit on CSR activities. Voluntarily, they should do much more than that, and they're doing much more than that, of course. So, how best that can be rooted, the industry knows it themselves, but again, our Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan organizations and our NSS organization, which is the other organization that we run, that is the National Service Scheme. That is in schools and colleges, mainly in colleges at the undergraduate level for 2 years, and similarly in the 10+2 schools, which has 32.5 lakh volunteers, and they every 2 years new volunteers come, and they are there for 2 years, in which every year they also have a special camp. They do 120 hours of community service, and in 2 years they have a special camp on 7 days also, in which they camp in the rural areas and do community service. Now, you could also, many of you must be supporting many educational institutions. Now, wherever the National Services Scheme is not there, then you can ask them to set up self-financing units. We are encouraging setting up of self-financing units. Government budget is limited. We can't go in for much more government-funded units. But self-financing units are not very expensive. So if we have more of the student youth put into the NSS activities, that will be a real service to the community, and also it adds to the personality development of the youth. So the motto of NSS is service before self, not me but you. And as Gandhiji said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And this is not applicable to the youth only, or not applicable to the needy person only. This is applicable to everybody, including the industry, including the bureaucracy, or even the politicians. The best way to become a leader is to serve. I mean, you have to do it by example, by real, work on the ground, that you get respect, you command leadership. And so, I mean, you see, I'll also like to say that, I mean, the industry should not feel that it's a sort of a charity. I mean, unless your clientele is prosperous, you cannot be prosperous. You have to have buying power in the clientele. So, I mean, we have to make, so it's a sort of a vibrant relationship between the entire creation of the God, let's say. Why even human beings, even with the animals, even with the plants, environment. I mean, we have to see the corresponding prosperity of the other group also if we want to prosper ourselves. And that is what is known as collective growth. That is what, and that is also what is the real meaning of inclusive growth. Inclusion should be there, social justice should be there, but it is also an economic necessity if the industry really wants to flourish, if they want to, grow more. So, I mean, it's not only a social obligation, it is also a business requirement. I would put it that way, that, I mean, the entire country, the entire world should prosper, and only when everybody prospers, when our client prospers, we prosper. So, that was one thing I wanted to tell you, and I must appreciate the great efforts that young Indians have been making, especially, I mean, you just celebrated a volunteering week from 12th to 18th January, in which you impacted number of youth all over the country, and your various seminars, discussions. Definitely you are working greatly for the cause of youth, and the government will like to be always associated with you, provide the facilities to you. We will provide our, youth force to you. Youth force in the form of our youth clubs, in the form of our NSS students. Use them, guide them, motivate them, and benefit them and get benefited from them. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gupta. We do intend to, take concrete steps in terms of realizing some of the, pointers that you actually gave us during your remarks. Before I get into the formal, role of thanking people, I also have the great pleasure of requesting Chris Gopalakrishnan to release our annual report for the year 2013-14. It's actually more than one book, so it's not that we have 400 pages in one book, so it's... Thank you so much. Members will get a copy soon. This is something that we find it useful when we talk about YI to some of the external constituents and stakeholders, because in some sense it becomes a single body of a medium which actually is able to showcase what we have done through the year. On that note, I want to take this opportunity to thank all our speakers here, our guests. Actually, guess is not the appropriate word to use, but all the dignitaries on the stage here. CB, thank you so much for being here and for your continued support to YI. You spoke of the CII-YI partnership. There's plenty of good momentum that's actually gaining ground. There's a lot of members of YI who are in various CII platforms. One sort of members we spoke of are those who have actually graduated from YI, but also thanks to your efforts and the kind of members' enthusiasm, a lot of YI members are today on several CII councils, committees as special invitees. I think all our members, for instance, at least Prasanna is here, Sami is here, Atre is there, they sit on the regional councils, which I think is a very, very positive thing. So things like this, and also all our chapter chairs sit on the state councils or the zonal councils, goes a long way in actually strengthening the relationship. Thank you so much for your support, and look forward to working with you as we go ahead. Chris, you spoke about audacious, you asked us to be audacious, and Shrikant made that sent me a chat. I had made, as a matter of coincidence, I had noted the same thing. When we started off with our Pathfinder, I think all our members who participated in that would remember, we asked all our members to actually come up with big audacious goals. And thank you so much for making that point, because I think in India, we don't have the comfort of being, small or being, just a comfort zone just because this is what we can manage. We'll actually be doing greater disservice than service if we actually restrict our numbers. In a country like India with 1.2 billion population, if you want to create impact, size does matter. We recognize that. I think now we are structurally also, I think we are ready and confident to actually scale up. And in some sense, I want to thank you for making my job easy, because tomorrow afternoon, intend to speak about that in terms of how we need to have stretch targets going forward. And so, thank you for making that remark. The other point that you made about use of technology, I think it's a very, very important point for all of us. As youngsters today are that much more comfortable in using technology. And I think we want to, there have been some discussions about having online membership or using technology as a game changer for, or rather more importantly as a force multiplier in terms of our outreach and activities. I hope we can, kind of leverage that and build on it this year. And I think the primary key takeaway for me especially was the remark that you made at the end, where you said, you almost seem to suggest that it's a crime if you don't think big. When you have to dream, you have to dream big. If you don't dream big here in this room, in this sort of a platform, as people who have certain comforts and we are not struggling for some basic necessities, if we don't dream big, then I think it's almost a crime that we are committing. Right? So we take that message and we will work on building on some of the good work that we have done so that we are able to grow it even more. Mr. Gupta, again, the ministry has been very supportive of our activities. We've done some things in the past. We intend to build on it. NYKS is a platform that Shrikant has been championing within YI. We will take your suggestion of getting our 32 chapters to identify areas or what is structurally easy for them to achieve within their respective cities. And that's in some sense is the spirit within which YI also operates. There is a national agenda, and the national agenda includes, amongst others, includes entrepreneurship, innovation and skill building as a key focus area for YI nationally. And that helps us to give the focus and sharpness, as CB mentioned in his remarks. But chapters are free to do what they want to do. So if a particular chapter says, I want to work in healthcare because it's of more interest to me and my members and it's useful for the engagement, they're free to do that. So we will take that and request our chapter leaders across the 32 chapters to come up with ideas, and we'll come back to you and seek your advice and help in terms of taking it forward as to how we can work. Because what we sometimes forget is that the biggest champion of, or the biggest enabler of any activity in this country is the government. There is tremendous amount of work that's being done in the government. 90,000 crores of rupees being spent on youth-related activities, be it education, healthcare, sports, or whatever, is not a small sum of money. How can we, use that platform and, make a difference in our own way, something that we'd like to kind of come back to you on that. On that note, I want to thank each one of you for sparing your time this morning and for, getting this summit to a very good start. Thank you so much.